Yes, well, it has been a consistent issue under Ten Hag, hasn't it? This struggle with generating as many goals as they would like, and we can see that with the graphic that we're about to show you here. So this shows us Premier League sides compared since Ten Hag's appointment for goals scored in Man United. As you can see, not where they'd like to be at all. They're below Brentford, just ahead of Fulham, but a long way from where they want to be. Only 120 goals scored compared to Man City 204, Arsenal 191, Liverpool 173. These are of course the sides Manchester United want to be rivaling, but they are struggling to make up that gap, and goal scoring has been a real issue under Ten Hag. 84 goals between these two, it's quite staggering, isn't it? What do we put it down to, do you think? Well, I think you have to look at the strikers, don't you? And I think finishing has been an issue. It was an issue for Rasmus Højlund last season. It's been an issue for Joshua Zirkzee as well, but I think there is an argument that service is an even bigger problem for Manchester United strikers under Ten Hag. So here we have the shots per 90 stats for Premier League strikers since the start of last season. Now, there are 52 Premier League strikers included in this, and we've ranked them by their shots per 90 minutes. So at the top, we see Darwin Núñez, Erling Haaland, John Duran. These are players who have a lot of shots, of course, over 4 per 90 minutes, and Darwin Núñez is a bit of an anomaly because we know he can be an erratic finisher, but generally volume is key with strikers. If you take a lot of shots, you will score a lot of goals. That's the case with Erling Haaland, and we're seeing that with John Duran as well. Now, with Manchester United strikers, they're not getting anywhere close to those numbers. So we see Joshua Zirkzee on 2.28 shots per 90 minutes. He's down in 33rd out of these 52 strikers. Rasmus Højlund and Anthony Martial, who was of course playing as a striker as well last season, are way down even on that. They're 49th and 51st respectively for shots per 90 minutes. So this tells us what an issue they have there in terms of generating shots for their strikers. Of course, it's partly down to the striker himself to create these chances, but it is a huge issue of service as well for Manchester United, I think. Joshua Zirkzee has been the man to lead the line. Rasmus Højlund started the season injured. What have you been looking into around, I guess, these two in particular? Well, I think we've seen similar patterns with both, really. They've both come over from Italy. In Joshua Zirkzee's case, it's Bologna. In this man's case, it's Atlanta. So we see the numbers here. So in terms of touches per 90 minutes and shots per 90 minutes, both numbers are down since Højlund came to Manchester United. He's having fewer touches and fewer shots, so he's less involved generally, and he's having less opportunity to get shots off. So this is a clear problem. You'd expect a player moving from Atlanta to Manchester United to get more shots, you would hope, but that's not been the case for Højlund, and we see something very similar with Zirkzee. If we see the next graphic in a moment, we'll see that his touches and his shots per 90 minutes are similar. So at Bologna last season, he was averaging 49 touches per 90 minutes. He was having close to 3 shots per 90 minutes. He joined Manchester United. The touches have plummeted as well, only 36.6 touches per 90 minutes and much closer to 2 shots per 90 minutes. So this is an issue we've seen with both strikers. They've come into Manchester United, they've been less involved and less able to get shots off, and that's affecting Manchester United's goal-scoring potential. Caution though from Onslaught, you heard that in his interview with us. Why you? Oh, he said being realistic, isn't he? About the challenge that Liverpool face. He wasn't able to bring in new players this summer, or they didn't bring in new players this summer, and over this next period through the autumn next pretty managed. Palace next weekend, I think a side who are struggling, Bologna midweek, and then we're looking towards those that Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, and then the back-to-backs against Brighton, which will be very interesting to see how that turns out in the League Cup, and then obviously in the Premier League. But yeah, they're tough fixtures, they're going to get tougher them. And obviously the second, they're home to Bologna. Then there's a 12:45 kickoff, Crystal Palace as well, away from home, which is something that Liverpool had a few problems. It always creates problems, doesn't it? Yeah, I didn't like it. And it's the quality of the opposition as well, another thing that Onslaught pointed to. Yeah, absolutely, when you've got a Chelsea game, Leipzig, Arsenal away, great fixtures, but that's what you wanted. With Liverpool, I didn't know what to expect this year. When you've lost such an icon of a manager, how were they going to adjust? But will we know a lot more after that period? I think I already know. I already like what I see. I like what I see. If they play like they did tonight, if we're being, Totally perfectionist, I don't think they're going to get through those fixtures easily at all. No, I think they definitely are title contenders. I think they're silent contenders for the title, and you look at the squad they've got, and obviously Arnold Slot's done a fantastic job since coming in. I think they've had a seamless transition with the way they want to play. I think the exciting part about them is there seems to be more to come, like they've got through that game today in third gear, and I think there's so much more to come. But if they play like they did this evening, I think they'll have problems against those. And he alluded to that fact, didn't he? He knows there's still a lot of work to be done, but there are so many good signs. I like what he's done. He's calm, he speaks really well. You can see the players are enjoying their football, and when you're winning, it's a lot easier. But those are some really difficult. I'd look at the two fixtures. Obviously, Chelsea have been amazing so far this season. They really surprised me, and obviously Arsenal. They're the games that are going to dictate the season for them. But they've got to make sure they, first of all, like Nolan said, take care of that Crystal Palace one next weekend. Now, incredible, chaotic. I don't know how to describe the game at Stamford Bridge on Saturday as Chelsea beat Brighton 4-2, thanks to Cole Palmer scoring all 4 goals in under 21st half minutes. A record in the Premier League, 4 in the first half of a game. Chelsea got some criticism in the summer for their transfer dealings, but then left themselves with so much attacking talent. They have 13 points, just 1 behind Manchester City and Arsenal now. So what do you think, Sue? Well, they've done well, haven't they? Enzo Maresca's certainly got his team buying into what he wants. We know that they've got a young, exciting side with lots of attacking talent. But you just wonder, would he be able to keep everybody happy? And at the moment, it's so far so good. I know it's still early on and we're saying, can they consistently do that throughout the season? But all you can do is judge them on what we've seen so far. And so far, attacking-wise, they've been absolutely brilliant. I know we can talk defensively about, do they need that solid base? And do they need to maybe improve that side of the game? But in terms of entertainment, they're brilliant to watch. Yeah, inevitably, plenty of talk about Cole Palmer. Okay, Dean, sum it up, if you can, how good he has been, how good he was on Saturday, and how good actually he could be. I think since he went to Chelsea, he's easily been the best player in the Premier League. I think he's just head and shoulders above most. What he's delivering on a consistent basis for someone that is still so young and inexperienced, really, in terms of elite level appearances, I find it outrageous. He's such a joy to watch. He just plays as if he's still with his mates in the summer when you've got 6 weeks off and you just drag the goal down to your local park and he's just showing off. And that's what it feels like. He's just such an unbelievable talent. And actually what Maresca has done is the right thing. He's just gone, you're my main player in that 10 role. And you just let everyone else around you go about their business and just do things like that. I mean, he's a joy to watch. If ever I get the chance, when working, to sit and watch him off the ball as well as on the ball, you just know, for the next however long he wants, he'll be one of the best players, certainly in this country. And that's what he brings. He brings an unbelievable quality, but also a humbleness to be shocked when he misses, which he was. He couldn't believe it himself. He's just got everything, hasn't he? In terms of his ability on the ball, the way that he sees a pass, then he can execute it. Then when he's through on goal, having that calmness. And it was interesting, I was listening to Maresca getting interviewed afterwards, and he was saying he's not concerned about fame going to his head because he said he's just so humble. He's got ambitions that he wants to be the best, but he's very humble. And if he misses a chance like that, he's gutted about it and he wants to go, right? I'm going to work hard to make sure that I don't miss that chance. It just seems like football's easy for him. It's just when he's on the ball, he just sees things that maybe other players don't see. And that is just an absolute natural ability. When he's asked at the end of the game, do you practice free kicks? He's like, no, not really. And I bet all coaches are going to their young players, please practice. Please keep practicing. But he has that natural ability to just be able to do that. He's absolute top quality. Okay, I'm trying to think of a Chelsea player in their recent past and slightly different, but Eden Hazard, is he different type of players but sort of operating in the same areas and can get you out of the seat in the same way? Is he better than Eden Hazard? That's not a nice question for a Monday. I'm glad you got that one. But I think he is. I think he is and will be. I think he already is and I think he will be. To be doing the things already and on a consistent basis. This isn't the first game that we've gone and wowed about Cole Palmer. So they have got one. I mean, look at that. It's just like he's just had a good day, and he just had a good day with his mates. It's not like he's in front of millions of people and the pressures that you have as a top player. Brilliant. But even when Chelsea weren't performing, he was still performing at a really high level. And the fact that I know he's been at Manchester City, but he hadn't made many starts. He come to Chelsea and was quite happy to be the main man, wasn't he? I remember the penalty. No, I'll take this penalty. He's confident in a massive game. He's confident to do that and believes in his ability. And I think that says so much about mentality of a youngster. You know, he's still young. This boy can still improve, which is, I think, scary for everybody. But yeah, absolutely. He's world class right now. Yeah, I watched him very closely at the end. I think he was waving at me there. I watched him very closely at the end. He actually kind of fell on the ground. But he was soon up and wanted another kickabout. It does beg the question, if you say he's the best in the Premier League at the moment, I mean, is he better than Phil Foden? Because why isn't he getting, or why hasn't he so far? We don't know what will happen under Lee Cosley and when he's fit for a squad, because he wasn't last time out. Why isn't he the #1 on the team sheet then for England? I'm not sure. That was Gareth's choice because he was there. He'd had a great season, but so had Phil Foden. Phil Foden was outrageous at times. I just think the regularity and the numbers that he's producing, and not just the goals and assists, but the chances he's creating week in, week out, I think just puts him ahead of the rest at the moment. Jadon Sancho, let's talk about him. 3 assists in 3 games now for Chelsea. What is this about feeling happy with where you are and the football that you're playing? What is it that we're seeing from him? I just think it's great to see a player that we know has got a lot of ability that just didn't work out at Manchester United. The breakdown in relationship with him and Ten Hag. He obviously goes to Chelsea. You can see that he just looks confident, he looks sharp, he wants to get on the ball. Obviously his assists as well, but it's a player that we know has got a lot of ability and we're starting to see it again now. Robert Sanchez, interesting. Please debate, because he pulled off a couple of incredible saves, yet you could argue responsible for both of Brighton's goals in this one. Don't know what he was doing there. And then for the second one, he gave the ball away. So afterwards, Maresco saying, expect to see more of these at the back, but is it worth the risk for a reward that might not even be there? It is for the manager because he did it at Leicester, and he did it very well, and he took risks with it. Sanchez should be used to it as well with the way that Brighton played. And he's just going to have to try and block out those sorts of instances because that might happen a few more times before he and the defense that he's in front of, midfield, are very comfortable with the way that Maresco wants to play. But the risk is paying off because when they get out, they've got such attacking talent that they're just then ripping through teams because of who they've got on the pitch or who they can bring off the bench. I was at the West Ham game and they just ran through them. Once they get through that, any sort of a press, they're away. So I can see why he wants to do it, and he's quite headstrong. He'll stick with it. I had spotted that, and actually he's staring at me quite ominously now. I'm actually quite scared of him. So as we said before, Arsenal 6-4, City 7-4 now, then 72 Liverpool and 1-2-1 Chelsea. Too early for this young team, because they're still the youngest average age in the Premier League. Too early for this young team to put a 4-hearted title top 4 though. Is that a strong possibility even at this early stage? Yeah, I think they are still a young team. Like I said before, an exciting team, one that you can see will only get better. Is it a little bit too early for them to be challenging for the title and top 4? Maybe. It's just putting that consistent run of games together. We can see the potential that they've got. We can see the quality in those attacking areas. My only worry is just defensively. It's having that sort of solid base to then allow the attacking players to go and flourish. So I think you just want to see progression. I think that's what Chelsea fans want to see progression, but they put themselves in and around that position. Why not? You've got to try and dream, haven't you? You're on Goal Zone. International break is upon us, of course. The next weekend, a couple of weeks away, the big game, Liverpool against Chelsea at Sunday, October 20th. Kickoff is at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on USA Network. But Gary, you will be back safe and sound in England by then. You'll be at Anfield. What sticks out from Liverpool-Chelsea? Just how Chelsea handle Anfield, I think that obviously it's another big game for Arne Slot. So again, a further test for Liverpool coming off the back of internationals. But I think going to Anfield, I always remember when I went to Anfield the first time, you play at Anfield many times. I think it's the toughest place to go. I think for a Chelsea team under Maresca, it's a real challenge for them. And it'll be interesting to see how they fare in that. Yeah, it's a good litmus test, isn't it, for Chelsea, this one? Absolutely. You've got to remember that it's a Liverpool team that have won titles in recent years, experienced, top of the table, got the best defensive record in the league against a Chelsea team that have threats. We've seen the pace that they have in the attacking areas of the pitch. I think they've got 16 Premier League goals already this season, and this has always been a classic game, hasn't it? Do you remember going back to the Rafa and Jose? Those goals. Yeah, there's always been a bit of rivalry between these two teams, so as Gary said, it'll be interesting to see how Chelsea deal with that, and that atmosphere at Anfield. I always think that Anfield's the toughest place to get space. And you think about how Cole Palmer plays, in the way in which he always looks like he's got time on the ball, it'll be interesting to see how he does at Anfield, and how Liverpool will attend to it. Do you think Gravenberch might be detailed to get on top of him and stop him playing? Yeah, be really aggressive against him and test him. They won't want to let him have any joy in the game. The encouragement early on, and Anfield can be a place where you can get bullied a little bit off the crowd, just the atmosphere, and it'll be a test for them. That game is in a couple of weeks' time. In the meantime, thank you so much. Hi there, I'm Nolan Baker, studio host of 1 Hour Sports' coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to 1 Hour Sports HD. Well, Manchester United fans, there you have it. We'll start this out with Manchester United, and their co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe has told BBC Sport that a decision on Erik Ten Hag's future is not his call. The pressure continues to mount on Ten Hag. He's won just 3 of United's opening 9 games this season. So let's bring you what Sir Jim Ratcliffe has had to say. I'm asked if he's got faith in the United boss. He said this: "I don't want to answer that question. I like Erik. I think he's a very good coach. But at the end of the day, it's not my call. It's the management team that's running Manchester United that have to decide how we best run the team in many different respects." But that team that's running Manchester United has only been together since June or July. They weren't there in January, February, March or April. The CEO Omar Barada, sporting director Dan Ashworth, they only arrived in July. They've only been there, you can count it, in weeks almost. They've not been there a long time. They need to take stock and make some sensible decisions. Our objective is very clear. We want to take Manchester United back to where it should be. It's not there yet, obviously. That's very clear. Interesting, isn't it, what Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said about the man to my immediate right, Erik Ten Hag, and what his future looks like at Old Trafford. Well, do you know what? We might get a little clearer picture after Super Sunday, because United travelled to Aston Villa in the first part of our doubleheader. Ten Hag, for his part, is insisting he still has the full support of everyone at the club. I'm not thinking about such issues because that is not the topic. We are in there together. The ownership, the leadership team, the staff. I appointed the new staff. We brought again new young players, and we have to integrate them. We just talked about Manuel Ugarte. The 6th position was absolutely one of the topics we wanted to sign for this season. He needs time to integrate. I know in top football you don't get time. They have to perform immediately, but that's not always realistic. He has to get used to our game model. He has to get used to his teammates. He has to get used to the intensity of the Premier League. It needs time. We have more positions where we need time. I'm very pleased with the return of Rasmus Højlund. I think he had a good return, but we couldn't play him in the first 2 months of the season. Hopefully he is now fit. He keeps improving in his fitness levels. He also has a consistent, fit season that will help us. There are more areas where we will improve, definitely. Then this team can grow and improve. Then we will see where we will end at the end of the season. Harry Maguire questioned his side's mental strength after last night's draw at Porto, and Ten Hag admits that United need to improve, particularly in defense, if they are to win any trophies this season. What is the mental issue? It's a spectrum of topics, and you have to address it right. This team has the belief that they don't give up. In that range of mentality, they have a strong mentality, but in some other parts they have to step up. If you want to win trophies, definitely. In some areas we have to improve. This can it? It cannot go on, it can go on. Erik Ten Hag is a great survivor. He's been the United manager, I think, for 2 full seasons. I think he's lost something like 34 games and he's still got his job. I think the main reason he's got his job is because he won 2 trophies. They weren't the main trophies, the title or the European Cup, but he won the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup as well. I think that is the reason why he's still got a job. And he survived some really shocking performances and results. The infamous losing 7-0 to Liverpool at Anfield. He survived that just 4 days later. They beat Real Betis 4-1. So I think in the short term, United are backing him. But if United keep playing the way they did against Spurs yesterday, because to my eyes, It didn't really look like, especially in the first half, that the players were playing for the manager. Unless he sorts that out, then he knows himself that he's under pressure, and he's under serious pressure of losing his job, because performances like that are totally unacceptable, right? You just said to me he kept his job because he won the FA Cup final. He beat a Manchester City side. Do questions not need to be asked from the football hierarchy that they've kept him in a job, given how dreadful United were last season, on the basis of one game of football? So well, I think what Ineos would say is that it wasn't on the basis of one game of football. They would say that, okay, it was a very disappointing season. We finished 8th, but we won the FA Cup. After the FA Cup, we carried out a review, and during that review, we decided that Erik Ten Hag was the best man for the job, and he was going to get a contract extension. Of course, depending on who you speak to, there's the other side to the story. And the other side to the story is that they went out and spoke to lots of different candidates. Everybody knows who they are. I don't need to go through all the names, and for whatever reason, they couldn't agree a deal with one of the other candidates. So they went back to Erik Ten Hag. They went out, flew to Ibiza, interrupted his summer holiday, sat down, spoke with him and said, Erik, you know what? Actually, you are the man. So when this is the plan for the future, we're going to make some summages. You're going to get some new assistant managers. We're going to give you more money to spend in the summer. There was going to be a reboot. Now 7 games into the season, the reboot doesn't appear to be working. But to be fair to Ineos, I don't think they judge Erik Ten Hag on just that FA Cup final win against City. So why? But they go and speak to a load of other managers. As you've just said, what does that mean? They have actually missed out on some viable options. Well, where are they speaking to in the summer? Who they're considering? Okay, Thomas Tuchel is still available. Mauricio Pochettino's got a job now. Roberto De Zerbi has got a job now. Thomas Frank is still at Brentford. The one name they were linked with in the summer who didn't available, who wasn't there, is Gareth Southgate. And we know he's got close links with Dan Ashworth. He's got close links with Dave Brailsford as well. Well, I think it would be a big story if he was ever to become the United manager. So if I'm not, some United fans would accept him being their manager. It would be a difficult sell to them. But I just sense at the moment we're talking about Erik Ten Hag's future when he's still got a job. Normally we don't like talking about managers' future and speculating on where they're going to keep their job or lose the job. But I think in this instance, it's a little bit different, because Erik Ten Hag himself in the summer, he sat down with a Dutch broadcaster and said, I am well aware of the fact that United have been speaking to other managers. It's not the done thing in the Netherlands, but it appears to be in England. They've gone out and spoken to other coaches when they already have a coach. So we know that United was speaking to other potential replacements in the summer. And of course, if this run continues, like all big clubs that have a succession plan in place, they will be prepared for the eventuality that Erik Ten Hag could leave. But I just want to finish off by making the point Erik Ten Hag is the great survivor. We've been here with him before. He's been in the spotlight. Everyone's talking about his future. Everyone's saying it's unacceptable. This can't go on. But every time somehow he seems to get a few performances out of the players. And this saga continues.